Welcome back to another edition of Force Friday, where we talk about Star Wars theories, characters, concepts, comparisons, analyzations, collectibles, and more. And today we're going to continue with our Wishlist series. Now, a couple things we got to get out of the way for this one in particular. One, I put Black Series in the title, but per usual, I mean any 1/12 scale figure, SH Figuarts, or Mafex would be perfectly welcomed, and perhaps even a Bandai model kit at times in specific scenarios. I'm not sure if any of those scenarios fit this specific video, but perhaps. The second thing is, this movie gets a certain swath of people all worked up in a tizzy. And while I disagree with them, I understand it. But just in an attempt to not be laden in the comments with how people feel about this film that I can tell you I don't agree with, I'd just like to take a second and remind you, this is about the toys that I want to see, not whether or not you think the movie is good. It's my second favorite Star Wars movie. I'm on record saying that. And it is a certain swath, right? My kids, for example, love it. I know plenty of casuals, or normies as we call them on Nerd Rage, think it's great. It's just a certain swath of Star Wars fans that find themselves at odds with it. And I understand it. I disagree, but I understand your point of view. Fundamentally, I think it comes down to the difference in how we see Luke Skywalker. But I've already addressed that. So let's move on with our list, shall we? And once again, much like Force Awakens, Hasbro has done a pretty tremendous job of giving us most of the cast of this film. This film also has a more intimate cast overall, so both of those things kind of working in concert creates a lot less need for characters. So I have a 10, but I can tell you if I just get my top 5, I'd probably be happy. Episode 7 and Episode 8 is some of the best overall coverage of a film that Hasbro has done. So in this list, you may see a lot of supporting characters, background characters, kind of display fluff, and less like key characters and fundamental characters. So that's a credit to all parties involved, honestly. So we'll start off with number 10. And you know I butcher these names. Ubla Marlborough, our heavy-set, egg-filled operatic singer of Canto Bight, who may have been trampled by a team of Fathiers. This is definitely a display piece for me. I don't really care, but it's an interesting character design. I think because her body is literally filled with eggs waiting to be fertilized, Hasbro probably wouldn't feel comfortable making a character like this. I could be wrong. I have been known to be wrong from time to time. But nonetheless, for my purposes, the way that my collection is set up, I think that doing a casino diorama would be pretty fun and cool, but I would definitely only need a few key characters, and she would be one. In that same vein comes number 9, and that is the character of Lovey. I remember seeing her in the film and thinking that her hairstyle was so bizarre, but once again, for a background character, I think she'd fit in just fine. And the nice thing about a character like this, perhaps even more so than Eggy McEggerson, is that you could probably put her in the background of a Coruscant diorama or a Coruscant display or a Cantina display, or, you know, she can kind of, even though she's dressed a little fancier, she could probably fill that position. Just a visually interesting character that, once again, given the characters we have left to fulfill from this movie, would be a choice of mine. Which takes us to number 8. Once again, an attempt to flesh out background characters and add a little unique and dynamic sauce to a given display space. My choice would be General Emat. According to the Visual Dictionary, a dwindler roster of resistance leadership has led to Emat taking on the rank of general as he organizes and leads the exterior defense of the Crate Outpost, a veteran of the Galactic Civil War. And I saw this character, and for one, I thought he looked a little bit like Donald Sutherland. But for two, you know, he had that seasoned veteran look. And I think a lot of times when we get troopers and military rankings for these various armies throughout the saga, they tend to be what makes up the majority of ranks. Young, able-bodied people ready to take on the world. A young man's game, as they say. So it'd be nice to have that seasoned, salty vet. Salty. You see what I forget it. In the same vein, on the Imperial side, we have Captain Kennedy. He served aboard Star Destroyers during the time of the Galactic Empire. Now in his 50s, he is surrounded by First Order personnel half his age and is dismayed by their youth. And as I'm approaching 40, that's beginning to resonate with me a bit differently. But similarly to what we just talked about with the Resistance, looking at my First Order shelf, I can tell you that I have a couple key characters, tons of troopers, a few officers, but lack the seasoned vet. And I do like to have that element when building an army, when quote unquote properly troop building, right? And we'll just go ahead and stay in that same pocket for one more character, and that is Commander Dassey, the nose lady. You know what I mean? You knows what I mean. Am I right? Forget it. She comes from a career military family entrusted with the protection of sovereign space. The demilitarization of the New Republic had little effect on her home, though her father was one of the loudest to question such a short-sighted decision. But she's obviously a standout character on the resistance side during that movie, which for me just makes her kind of a no-brainer to add to those ranks. Plus, I mean, she does have an interesting and unique and distinct look. And now we get into the top 5, which is really where my wants come in. These are the characters that I'm like, yeah, we need these. This isn't a case anymore of spicing up a display or spicing up a shelf. This is something where I'm like, yeah, these characters have probably been overlooked and should be represented. And coming in at number 5, got to give it to the Frog Nuns, or the Caretakers as they're called. A species that was on the planet of Ahch-To, that was overlooking the ancient Jedi structures, settlements, etc. Often had their wheelbarrows crushed. I think a 2-pack of this would suffice. I think you could get away with a 2-pack. Perhaps it's like a deluxe, and it would be a check off the box and a pretty much completely visualized Ahch-To character roster. Now, when I say stuff like this, sometimes people are like, yeah, but do you think it'll sell? And the truth is I don't know. But I know that they put out that deluxe thing from Solo, that big thing with the big face, and I feel like that played a far less integral role than the Frog Nuns do. And they should come with a wheelbarrow. That's a no-brainer. Coming in at number 4, I would also like to be a 2-pack, a deluxe set, which would be Bargwill Tomber, the dude that owned the stables for the Fathiers and oversees a small team of children abandoned on the planet by losing gamblers, whose small size assists in navigating the cramped confines of the stables. But once again, super interesting look. I need more characters on my shelves with 4 arms, and I want him to come with Tamiri Blagg, otherwise known as Obroom 1 Kenobi, otherwise known as Broom Buffett, Mace Windbroom, Han Brumo, Abroom Katano. You get the picture. But the kid that signified to me that Luke's greatest work had been done, that hope had indeed been restored, that kids could once again believe in themselves, to reach out with the Force, and a move that, in my opinion, kind of undid the midichlorian thing, which I think is one of the biggest missteps in the saga. So I would definitely want those 2 characters represented. And then the top 3. I think we need a Finn in that particular outfit. I think we need a Finn with the new face paint as well. But this was my favorite outfit of Finn's throughout the saga. I think I think you probably need one for 9 too, but it is a different look for him. And it's a bit more Star Wars-y than his other looks, either from Force Awakens or from Episode 9. It's probably my favorite costume of his throughout the saga, so I think it's needed. And I think an update of him is needed in general. So yeah, he is my number 3 choice. My number 2 choice is Paige Tico. Once again, I want more resistance troops. Once again, I connected with her, that story with the sisters being split and all that, and the necklaces and all that. That stuff works for me. I'm somebody that respects brotherhood, or in this particular circumstance, sisterhood. But that plot element really landed at home with me. And I love her part in the movie. I love that sequence with her and the bombs. We got her in 3 3/4, and I think she deserves a 6-inch representation as well. And then you probably could have guessed it. My number 1 choice, whenever given the option, more than likely it's going to be the case, is Princess Leia. I love this outfit the most of hers throughout the sequel trilogy. It has that distinguishment and class and power and grace that I think of when I think of that character. And it's a shame that we never got a representation of it, in my opinion. It's a shame that the only representation we got is the one we got of her, how distinguished it looks. I think it's extremely elegant. And to me, she'll always be royalty. And that's my list. And, as I've said before, my goal is to come back to these lists in a year or so and reassess them, see what's been made, what's been announced, and sort of realign them. So I'm curious to see where some of them end up. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying sane. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.